My name is Matthias Bley. I have with me Jon Sprenger from E.ON, who will do a demo for customer E.ON, and also Simon Detzel from Vostura. So we will have in this presentation, topic today is health monitoring. So I will give a short introduction about health monitoring itself. Then we will have a customer demo, so that customer can show how they are using it. Seeing is believing. And then I will take over again and give a little introduction what we have done in the last year, more or less, new features we have in health monitoring since the last presentation, and also what is an outlook, what will come new, what we are planning. So who is already using health monitoring in the room? Hands up. Okay. Some? Okay. So for the ones who don't know it, I will give a short overview. So health monitoring, in the end, is a monitoring application on Cloud ALM, which is focusing mainly on technical metrics. So, I mean, we have the other scenarios, integration monitoring, covering communication between systems, real user monitoring, synthetic user monitoring for the end user experience, and job monitoring for monitoring jobs. Still, we have some technical KPIs, typically also for cloud services, for on-premise systems, which you want to monitor. Memory utilization, how many users are on the system, application-specific metrics. And what we are doing in health monitoring is that we are regularly collecting metrics. Either we get these metrics pushed by a system, so that the push is enabled in a cloud service or an on-premise system, or we actively pull the data from APIs which are provided by the products. And on these metrics we can define thresholds, write them in our database, see the history, and create events and alerts. So the main use cases in the end here are monitoring, analytics, and alerting. So for monitoring, as said, we are collecting the metrics. You see in the end what is the current health of my systems. Are there any metrics which are above the threshold where we have identified issues? So these then can be marked as red. And you can see the values inside. We have then analytics capabilities. As said, we are collecting these metrics typically every 5 minutes. For some products, also in the meantime, every minute. So especially for BTP Cloud Foundry metrics, Java applications, we get this pushed every minute. And this we store in our database, typically for 30 days, but it's also configurable by the customer how long you want to keep the data and to which extent you want to aggregate the data then to hourly values or daily values to save some space on the database. But as that default is 30 days, so for 30 days you will see the raw data also in history charts, for example, where you can see if I have, for example, now a high CPU utilization, when did it start? Was there a similar issue last week already before? And so you can analyze here. And then the third use case, of course, is then the alerting, so that you don't always have to check now the monitoring application actively. You can define events, or we provide you events where you can then define actions on it to say, yes, if, for example, I have a high memory utilization on a component, or if some component is saying that something is not in a healthy state, you can say, I want to have an alert. So we have also an alert inbox in the application where you see that something has happened. Or you can say you get notified by email. We have in the meantime also a chat integration, as you can see. And we can also trigger, for example, if you have connected a ticketing system to your Cloud ALM tenant, also create tickets. So these are the main 3 use cases: monitoring, analytics, alerting. And yeah, so this was in the end my short introduction, and now I will hand over for a presentation.
Okay, so good afternoon. First of all, Matthias, thanks for having us here today. Within the next around 20 minutes, my colleague Simon and I will share a little bit our experiences with Cloud ALM at E.ON. And I do the first part, kind of setting the scene. So I will briefly explain who we are, how our starting position looked like, share some insights on our proof of concept, and afterwards, second part of the slot will then be the demo. Health monitoring use case, which is pretty beneficial for us, and Simon will show you this in the system. So I would assume most of you have heard about E.ON, but for those who don't, who are we? E.ON is one of Europe's largest energy companies with business areas like energy distribution grids, energy infrastructure solutions for cities and companies, and energy sales, which is basically, for example, bringing energy to your home or supporting you with your PV on your rooftop. We do have 3 strategic priorities, which are growth, sustainability, and digitalization. I'm going to skip the first 2 ones, but would like to highlight the third one, this digitalization. E.ON is about to become an all-digital company, and one part of this is that we operate our IT systems or platforms preferably on our own. And this is a nice link to this summit here, as Cloud ALM is supporting us in doing so. So how did our starting position look like? Within E.ON, we do have several solution managers. We managed to get rid of some, but in our environment, we do have 2 still in place. This is one dealing with so-called legacy systems, and another one with our future landscapes. Quite a lot of managed systems, and we are using this implementation part heavily within this solution manager. So we are using focus build, charm, test management, solution documentation. We are not using these solution managers for any operations, so no system monitoring or technical monitoring. For these tasks, we do have an external partner in place today with a dedicated solution manager. And beginning of this year, we started to, or maybe end of last year, we started our journey with Cloud ALM. And as a starting point, we did this readiness check, Cloud ALM readiness check provided by SAP. And we had the idea to start with implementation. But as a result of this readiness check, our plan changed, because only around half of the used capabilities were covered by Cloud ALM at this point in time. And some of them, which weren't met, were crucial for us. So we decided to move implementation into the second row and started with operations. And there we identified a nice fit with the idea to own our technology, to operate our systems on our own. And this perfectly fits with a rather high maturity level of Cloud ALM operations. So the next 2 slides briefly show some interim results, some findings of our proof of concept with Cloud ALM operations. So this is the current version of our to-be Cloud ALM landscape. And the key message on this slide is that we are aiming for one central productive Cloud ALM in the middle. So we heard about this yesterday, and this was, let's say, something which kept us busy during the year with several customer numbers. But there's a solution in place with this customer number groups. So we are aiming to have one Cloud ALM. Left-hand side is central IIS and GRC, so pretty good experience in this area. So we managed to have this connected, and on the right-hand side you can see the systems which are connected to Cloud ALM. So we are dealing with on-premise systems and cloud services as well. The proof of concept itself covers all the use cases from operations, but today in the demo we will show you something of health monitoring. The findings on the right-hand side are somehow cross-topic, so not all of them are directly related to health monitoring, and these were things which kept us busy during the year, and which are things from our point of view worth to think about if you go in this direction. So As mentioned, we made good experience with user and authorization management, IDM, GRC connected. We do have an open topic with the fact that not all services are available for Cloud ALM yet. Some of them are on the roadmap, some of them aren't on the roadmap. So this is definitely something we need to deal with in the future. We need to find a solution. I highlighted this customer number range, number structure thing, but this was also raised yesterday in the Ask Me Anything session. So we do have a solution there. We made good experiences with this one Cloud ALM tenant in the proof of concept, but with the idea to go live, beginning of next year, we think about the need for an additional tenant for testing. And we do not have a clear picture on this 8 gigabyte limit. We heard solutions yesterday, so you can enlarge this, or you can go with a second tenant and flexible shift the volume, but we do not have a clear picture at this point in time. The last thing here highlighted on this slide is the system and service specific authorizations, also a topic which was a challenge for us during the year, but also there's a solution, and Simon will show you this in the demo. Well, now it's time for the demo. Just a short introduction for that. So it's about health monitoring certificates. This is a high-level process, but I don't want to go into detail. So from a technical point, no rocket science, but it's pretty beneficial for us at E.ON. So we had definitely an issue with outdated certificates and just react. And health monitoring is now bringing us in the position to be more like proactive and to avoid situations with outdated certificates. And having said that, I'm hand over to Simon.
Thank you, Jan. Yeah, so I was wondering, what could I show you that's not trivial? And I was wondering quite a lot, and in the end I came up, I'm going to show you something trivial, because also it's beneficial to E.ON. Cloud ALM operations, health monitoring is pretty easy. It's intuitive, and it ended up being trivial, so I'm just going to show you how trivial it really is. The first part, of course, is you have to connect your system, in this case a solution manager, where we do the certificate monitoring, to Cloud ALM to gather the data. How do you do it? On your solution manager, you find this transaction, it's /SDF/ALM monitoring. And you see, if you call up this transaction, you have to do basically two things. Number one, you create a destination. To create a destination, you have to provide some information. That's like the endpoints, client ID, client secret. Could be a bit complicated because you have to get all this data, of course. But on the other hand, if you look into the landscape management of your Cloud ALM, you find an area, SAP Cloud ALM service key. You click on those little classes, and you get exactly all that. And you don't need even to copy the parts, client ID, client secret. You just copy this to the clipboard. You go to your solution manager, paste the service keys. It will parse everything for you, and you're finished. So you just confirm that. Then you register this. A job will be created that automatically pushes the data to Cloud ALM. For those of you who are asking, do I need a cloud connector for that? No, you don't. That's it. Of course, your connection must be open, so take care for proxies, take care for firewalls. But from your solution manager, Cloud ALM point of view, that's everything you need to build the connection between solution manager and Cloud ALM. Only one more step, you have to activate the right use cases. So today we're dealing with health monitoring. You see we have 8 use cases in this transaction. Health monitoring is one of them. We just select this check mark, confirm it, and that's all you need to do. With that, you are populating the information that is required for certificate monitoring in Cloud ALM. Where does that take us? So in Cloud ALM, you see the solution manager as a system type. We have the system. In this case, we have, of course, 3 system landscape, DSM, QSM, PSM. If we choose our DSM system, we have the first use case that Matthias said, monitoring, so we can monitor now the certificates. You see on a high level, obviously, we have 50 certificates that are okay, 2 certificates that are in warning, and 1 that for demonstration purposes only, of course, the colleagues left in an error state. So if you want to see the details on that, you see there's this 1 certificate whose validity just expired 13 days ago. So obviously this could be a problem. It's not, I can assure you, because this is a certificate that's no longer needed, but of course the validity has expired. That's why it shows as error. And we have here 2 more. These are important. They will expire in 11 days, so we get a critical warning. Is there anything you need to configure to get this? No, that's all out of the box until now. You can, of course, do a bit of configuration if you say, well, I need this earlier than 11 days, I need an earlier warning. You can go to the configuration. There I configure my metrics for certificates, and you see certificates is the menu entry. What you can do here is to exactly define those thresholds, so I get the warning messages when a certificate is about to expire in 30 days, and I get the critical message when a certificate is about to expire in 7 days. But that's really all you need to get just exactly what you see right now. Now you say, I don't only want to do the monitoring. Next use case that Matthias said, I also want to be alerted. Well, that's some more clicks then. So besides the metrics, we have the events. And yes, there is 1 event, expired certificates. So if you want to get alerted whenever a certificate is about to expire, you just switch this create alert switch to on. And additionally, in this case, I switched the send email to switch to on, registered my email address to get an email. What's the result of that? So basically 2 things. Number 1, in the health monitoring user interface, we have the alerting part. And here you can see, beside some other alerts, we exactly have our DSM system alert for expired certificates, which we can now process. We have different actions, like creating a ticket if the service now is connected, starting an operation flow, or just confirm if you took the manual activities. And because I registered for the emails in the morning, I can also show you this nice example of an email. So now I got this email, which exactly gives me per system, in this case again, DSM 100, those 3 alerts, 1 critical for the expired certificate, and 2 warnings for those that are about to expire. That's it. Basically, we've set up and we've seen everything that you need to know to do certificate monitoring. Always bring something that is well known and something that is new. So I also have one not so trivial part, and we heard yesterday from Janko that there's a feature called access lists about to be released. Basically, as Jon said, we had 1 bigger issue. E.ON is a large corporation. We have different departments, but only 1 Cloud ALM. So 1 important requirement was we need to separate. Not everybody can see all the systems. How do we do that? So SAP reacted, thanks to Andrea Schumann and her team, and just not so long ago, we got the new feature of the access control lists, which you will find in the landscape management. If you don't find it, then probably because it was delivered with a new authorization role. So just get that new authorization role for the access control controller, and then you will see exactly this part, attribute-based access control. In this activity, you can define the so-called access control lists. And for this example, I have defined one access control list. That's called one ERP, which consists of exactly 7 systems. Our 3 solution managers, 2 S4 systems, and 2 cloud connectors. So that's the list of systems that we want to authorize. Now we can assign users to this list. In our case, I have assigned my user to this one ERP list. And in the last step, because we're still in testing, we have to make sure that this access restriction is activated for my user. You see, for demo purposes, I have 2 users on the system. So in the demo, I need to check now to use the right one. But you see, for one of them, the access is restricted. For the other, it's not. So where does it take us? As you already see in landscape management, there are many, many, many tiles for different system types, but most of them show no authorization. And that's exactly because I'm only on that one access control list containing cloud connectors, solution managers, and S4 systems. So if I scroll through all those tiles, I see lots of no authorizations, but I see authorizations for 2 cloud connectors, and I expect to find 3 solution managers somewhere, and here they are, and we have the S4 systems. So now you see access control lists, they are already released, they are working in landscape management. And second part, and you might have already seen that in health monitoring, I have the same exact systems. I have my solution managers, I have my S4 systems, I have my cloud connectors. If you say, yes, that's because you just set up the scope like that, no, it's not. I just hover, or let's look at the scope, let's try to change that. You know, the filters, I'll empty them all, perform a search, and you see I don't get any other systems, so I can just scope those systems, everything other not visible for me. And as a final proof, we can try to do this with another user. And that's where my second test user comes in. Need 2 hands for this. So let's look at health monitoring with this other user, which is not restricted. And you see lots of systems that I didn't see with the other user before. It's there, it works, it's been released. Thank you.
Okay, then I will take over again. Thank you for the presentation. And let's hope. Yeah, here we are. Okay, yeah, so you have seen in the demo how to use the application. It's not rocket science, as you have seen. I mean, this is also not the intention. It's really, the idea is really to make it as easy as possible to get started, to come with attaching your system and being able to monitor. So I guess one benefit is also the content which we predefined for all the products. That the products we are monitoring currently, what we support, you see here. And it's distributing into 3 main areas here. So we have on one hand side cloud services, which are as a software as a service product in the end provided to customers, which means it's operated by SAP. Customers can use it, like Cloud ALM, for example. You don't have to install anything. You just get authorized, you log on, and can start working. Of course, as this is operated by SAP, as a customer, you don't have to care about CPU, memory, all other resource consumption, because this is handled by SAP. So if this is not your job, this is our job. And for this means also that for these products, typically you won't see metrics like CPU, memory, disk utilization, the traditional technical KPIs. It's typically more going into an area that you see application-specific metrics. If there are resources on a system, for example, for cloud integration, you can define queues as a customer, which you want to monitor if a queue is full or if a queue is standing and it cannot be processed anymore. So these are things which we monitor in health monitoring, but typically you will not see really down to the bare metal things like CPU or memory utilization. The next type of systems are then cloud services which are provided as platform as a service. So like, for example, Cloud Foundry environment where you deploy your own custom applications, or an S/4HANA cloud where you can also store your own data. You can also start and stop the HANA database. As this is operated by you, of course, the hardware, of course, is operated by SAP, but it's more or less a little bit still managed by the customer, right? You can decide what you do, which applications you deploy. As you develop this application, of course, you want to know, is this, how much CPU is this memory using? Is my memory full? Do I have to scale up, for example? So this means also for this platform as a service, we typically have a little bit more visibility, right? So for example, for Cloud Foundry customer applications, you see also CPU, memory, disk utilization of your own applications. You will, of course, not see the bare metal below. You see only the CPU which you are using in your containers, but not the physical machine which is operated by SAP. And HANA Cloud, the same, right? So you will see how much memory you have using for HANA Cloud. You will see what are my top tables here inside, how many transactions are being processed, can I connect to the HANA Cloud database, things like that. But again, the bare metal you will not see here. And the third part is then really the on-premise systems which are running in your network, which are also operated by you. And here you will see typically, like you know it from system monitoring, for an S/4HANA system, as it's running on your side, you will see everything down to the host name, right? You will also see really the CPU utilization of the host itself. You see also memory utilization of HANA Cloud. You see things in the ABAP environment like number of users, number of short terms, whatever you know from the system monitoring, more or less. All the information about the latest products is always documented here on the expert portal. So if you want to see what we support, this is the link you would have to use if it's opening up. I don't want to know what's new in Chrome. Thank you for that. So here we have typically then the setup page which will describe which products are supported, how you can set it up. And we have also then here in the expert portal then for health monitoring this content area where you have a detailed list of metrics and products which show what you can get out of it. So this was about the content. What we also provide are APIs. So it's also been mentioned, if you have been in the presentation of Andrea Campo this morning, he was showing, for example, how we can get metrics into health monitoring and also into other applications like release monitoring and exception monitoring. So we have on the one hand side APIs where you can inject metrics into Cloud ALM, especially if you want to attach non-SAP products. You have the capability to say you send OpenTelemetry metrics to Cloud ALM, and in the end, OpenTelemetry, we support OpenTelemetry metrics, logs, and traces. And in health monitoring, you can then see the metrics which you have been injecting. And for the outbound part, we have two APIs. We have one analytics API, which is mainly for creating analytical charts. And we have a raw API where you can get the raw data out, which you could then also use to forward to other monitoring systems. If you say you don't want to use health monitoring, but you still want to have the data, we can take Cloud ALM more or less as a proxy to have a central access to all the metrics from the different products from SAP. For this analytics API, this is not giving you the raw data. This is giving you aggregated data on different granularities. And what you can do from here is that you can then say you attach now an analytics tool like, for example, Analytics Cloud or Grafana to this API to build your own dashboards. And I guess I have an example here. So I have here taken now some metrics from a HANA Cloud instance, which is running on our side. I have just built some dashboards. So all of these metrics you see here are coming out of health monitoring. So you see also this data is also, there's no storage here. This is always accessed live when I change it. So if I change now to 24 hours, you will see that the metrics here are changing. You also see here we had done, for example, a slight increase in CPU utilization. And here then you can build your own dashboards. In the end, as said, this is an example for HANA Cloud. You could also do the same for Cloud Foundry applications, for your ABAP system. Whatever we have in health monitoring, you can then export to this via this API to another tool like Grafana. Now I will talk a little bit about the things which are new, what we did so in the last year. So one main topic was exactly this possibility to provide instrumentation for applications running on Cloud Foundry. So as said, typically you have a Cloud Foundry tenant, a sub-account where you deploy now Java applications, Node.js applications, which you now want to monitor. And for this we provide an Cloud ALM library, which you then can just instrument in your applications. So it's not really necessary. There are two parts. I mean, we have on one hand side this auto-instrumentation, and here it's not necessary to code anything from your side. So what you have to do, you have to take the library and implement it in your YAML file for your application that this library is being used. You have to define a destination on the sub-account which points to Cloud ALM. Tell this library to use this application. You can say which use cases should be switched on. As said, health monitoring for metrics, exception monitoring for log files, and releaser monitoring for traces. And then this library will then push the metrics which belong to this application, the auto-instrumented to Cloud ALM, and you will see that in health monitoring. So auto-instrumentation we have then for Java and Node.js. And here you see then typically metrics like CPU utilization of your application, or memory utilization, disk usage, response time, and this you can have without having additional coding. Nevertheless, if you say, I have now an application where I have some custom metrics which I also want to expose to health monitoring, this would also be possible, then you can do some manual instrumentation in your coding and say, yes, this is now an application-specific metric, which I built, where I instrument the code and say, yes, for example, when a step is taken, that you increase a counter or that you send a specific measurement, and this can then also be visible in health monitoring. So this is, I have here also an example in this dashboard above. So this here is, in our tool, we have a content distribution process. And here we have a metric built where we just say, yes, how many were successful and how many were failing. And then you can have here a view of the number of successful and failed distributions in a specific time frame. Okay, do I have time? No, I guess I don't have too much time for the demo. What else we did? We have invested in context-sensitive links. So, I mean, the health monitoring, or in general, all the monitoring applications in Cloud ALM are mainly intended for central monitoring capabilities, right? So that you don't have to now use 10 different tools to monitor. We want to centralize the visibility in Cloud ALM. Nevertheless, you still have sometimes local monitoring tools or tools which you have to use to analyze more. And here we have now provided possibilities to provide links into the application. So if I go here, for example, This is an example of such a Cloud Foundry application which we have instrumented here. And this is called travel agency application. It's a Java application deployed on Cloud Foundry. And here you can then say, for example, I jump to the BTP cockpit to see this application running, or I jump to the Cloud Logging service. And then you click here, open the BTP cockpit context sensitively. So we have, in the end, from the landscape information, information where the Cloud cockpit is running. We have information if Cloud Logging service is enabled, and then we can provide context-sensitive jump-in. And this can happen either on the upper level. Typically, we have this then for the whole product, but it could also be that for some metrics here inside, you will also find links that you jump, for example, context-sensitively to a specific dashboard, or that you jump from an S/4HANA system to a specific transaction, where you can see more details of the metrics which we display here. The next thing we also did was to make the configuration a little bit easier. I mean, when Simon has presented it, you have seen it in the past. We always had to go on the, you had a metric here where you said disk utilization, I want to change now. You had to go here to the configuration on the right-hand side. Then you have to remember which was my system, or it was the travel agency. And then you have to find the metric, and then you can change it. So what we have now done in the meantime is that we have really context-sensitive links. So you're going to click on the info icon, you say directly edit configuration, you are directly on the metric you want to see. And also the same for the complete system. If you say you want to modify directly the events, you can click here, and you don't have to navigate on the right-hand side. Also no rocket science, but it makes the life much more easier. We have new content. Also here as an example, was also integration suite is a software as a service product, as said, typically operated by SAP. There we say we don't expose information too technical, but yeah, there were customers saying yes, there are issues if my data store is being used up in integration suite. I can have problems. And so they also exposed these metrics now here. So there is also an inspect or monitoring application now in integration suite in the meantime, and we are just reflecting the same information what they have then also here. So you should see the same numbers, the same rating. You could also change the thresholds if you want to, but it's also configured out of the box. So typically no need. And we will also keep a history here. So in the inspect, typically you will see the current usage, and here we can also show the history of these metrics. And these are small things. Of course, this will come more and more for different products where we see, based on customer feedback, we provide more content here. Time selection for displayed data was also something which was based on customer feedback. So we are typically collecting all the metrics regularly, whatever we get from the system. You've seen in the system, we just have to configure, send all the metrics to Cloud ALM. There is no, you don't have to switch on metrics or switch off metrics, define what you want to see. We just send everything. And there are some examples, or there were some examples where, data was not for example, you have a certificate, and it is expired, you delete it. Of course, you don't want to see it anymore. In the past, we had the case that we were displaying everything which has been sent in the past. Right? So whenever a metric was sent, we were showing the last value, which resulted that you have seen, for example, a certificate which has expired 1 week ago. You have still seen with a timestamp of 1 week ago. And what we now did is that we provided a time frame selection, which is by default 24 hours, which means you see all the data which is within the last 24 hours. And if needed, you can change this. So for example, it could be that this system is not sending data anymore. So you see nothing, you go here inside, you see no data anymore, you know it has been sending data, or you want to know when did it last send data, right? Then what you can do is you extend the time frame from 24 hours to 7 days. You see the metrics, the latest metrics which have been sent, and from the timestamp you will find out when it was last sent. You still can see the metrics. All the way around that you say, I have now, it's showing me too many metrics. For example, we had also some systems, S/4HANA systems which are monitoring file systems. There were some file systems which are only temporarily mounted for backup. And then we had a situation, you see hundreds of file systems which have only been temporarily available for hours ago, for example. And then you can say, no, show me only the metrics within the last 1 hour or within the last 15 minutes. So also here, this time selection can become quite useful. Authorization for landscape objects has already been presented by Simon. So I mean, what we always had is on the left-hand side, we always had a scope selection in all our monitoring applications, where you say, yes, every user can define what he wants to see, right? So you may have in your landscape management hundreds of sub-accounts, but if you are responsible only for 2 sub-accounts or interested only, then you can put these 2 in the scope. And then in health management, you will only see this 2, that the rest doesn't interest you. But of course, we had also customers saying, yes, I don't want to give this, I want to prevent that some users are seeing specific systems or services. And then exactly you can do what was shown here. You can go to landscape management. You can activate this access control either on a single user level or for all users. And then you really make sure that these systems are not even able to see the systems of other users. So typically if you have different departments, if you have all different departments in one Cloud ALM tenant, you have then the possibility to separate here really the data. By default, it's switched off to make it easy, right? Because otherwise, you would see nothing in the beginning. So this is really something, if you want to use it, you can activate it. You should also be careful not to activate it for everybody at the beginning. You have the possibility to do this user by user to test it out, and when you are sure, then you should activate it. Okay, and now I will provide a small outlook. Things which most of these things are coming in the meantime already from the influence requests from customers. So this is really, the planning is also in the meantime from what you said in the influence request is needed most by you. So custom availability is definitely a topic which is asked very often by customers. So I kind of check if my components are available. I mean, by default, we are getting the availability which is from also displayed in sub for me, where you get these disruptions and degradation information from SAP. So this we have in health management already displayed. But we will also provide in the near future, hopefully, the possibility to define custom HTTP availability checks. So if you say you have a custom application deployed, you want to see if this application is up and running, you can define in your application a health endpoint, which you can then ping. And then we ping this every minute. And in case this is then not reacting anymore, then we can create an event. Right? And by that, you could say, yes, you do some availability monitoring of components. Now you want to have this for your ABAP systems. Problem is now, of course, the ABAP system cannot be pinged from Cloud ALM, as this is running in the cloud, and hopefully your systems are not in the cloud. And that's why we start now that we say we use here a heartbeat mechanism. So some of you may have already noticed, if you have the latest STPI version, there is now in the meantime a heartbeat metric from your ABAP systems. It's sent every minute, so this is something we changed, that we get really every minute. And we are also here going to provide a possibility to say if this metric is not coming in anymore, if you see it is older than 3 or 5 minutes, then you get an alert that this metric is outdated. So first step, but at least this is then working out of the box. You don't have to configure everything else. We are also thinking in the future that we can also say you do the ping through a cloud connector, but then of course this will be more effort, because then you have to have a cloud connector, you have to attach it to Cloud ALM, you have to define a route, you have to provide an endpoint, and all this has to work together. We will provide this possibility, but the easiest thing is, of course, this heartbeat mechanism, which is then working out of the box. I have to hurry up. We have this event configuration variant, so to make the configuration easier, you can say you don't want to configure every event one by one. You can say, yes, I want to create an alert, I want to send an email to the following 5 people, define this as a variant, and this variant you can easily then assign to multiple events, makes the configuration much easier. We also want to provide custom events, so we are providing events out of the box, but there were always questions from customers, yeah, can I change this a little bit? I want to change the name. I want to have an event for this metric. I want to separate my certificate events. I want to have a separate event for each certificate. So all this will then be possible here. Counter metrics is an issue whenever we count something. Is typically you get from other monitoring tools an upward counter. So number of errors, you will get always in the end a sawtooth. And to see how many errors I had in the last hour, you have to take the latest value, the value from 1 hour ago, do the difference, and you know then how many errors you had. So this is one thing. Threshold rules is something which also many customers ask, that they say, yeah, in general, I want to monitor all my file systems, but not the file system starting with /net or /mount, because they don't belong to the system. So we'll have the possibility to define exceptions from the thresholds for different labels. So these are the things we are currently working on, which are hopefully planned all for this year. Also content, you see, Analytics Cloud, Datasphere, Schema, market communication for utilities, and also QRC, TRC, BGRC on an S4HANA side. This was all asked by customers. And for next year, yeah, bigger topics we still have is to also create custom metrics. So also for non-SAP systems, that you can also modify the content you send in. Of course, we will need a mass configuration possibility, similar, not the same, but at least similar, like in Solution Manager with the templates, that you can say, now I have 20 HANA Cloud instances, and I don't want to now configure them one by one. I want to say, this is my default, how they should be monitored, and then you can adapt it to all your instances. Integrated dashboards will be a topic. I mean, you've seen on the cards currently, we showed just the numbers. It would be nice to have some charts here inside. Integration with exception monitoring, that we see also some exceptions, or the exceptions that they don't have to go to integration monitoring for if you want to see the exceptions if you are doing a native basis monitoring. And also this dynamic thresholds topic, which Janko has shown. Also here we have plans to integrate this into health monitoring soon. And on content side, yeah, digital manufacturing, event broker, integration suite, edge integration cell is on the list. I assume also some more next year. And also something which is from the influence request, also here, RC connection monitoring on an S4HANA systems, that we can say in SM59, I want to monitor some destinations and know when they are not responding anymore. Okay, if you have even more requests, yeah, if you have here this customer influence, we have already a lot of requests for health monitoring. If you open new ones, please check if this request is already available. So there are some duplicates here inside. Also, it would be nice if you provide a good description where other customers would understand what you want to have and not say, I need a feature. Yeah, use this. This helps us really a lot to know what is the prioritization. And don't have time for Q&A, but you can ask me after the session if you have any questions. I'm also here for the next 2 days, so I hope you find me. And yeah, you can share your things on whatever social media you're using. And if you have any feedback, if you would like the session, please provide some feedback in the app. And yeah, if you didn't like the session, I would encourage you not to do it. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for your time.